Finally, after years of waiting, we finally get our second rendition of the V-19 Torrent Starfighter for LEGO Star Wars. With set 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no liftoff. The set is rated ages 9 and up and includes 567 pieces and 3 minifigures. This stuff was pretty decent with the Clone Wars box art style of our 332nd Trooper in the bottom left corner. Pretty nice, very nice pop of orange. The actual space background is very nice, nice explosions and plenty on the back. And on the back side of the box shows our play features, and along with Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting Asajj Ventress in a hangar. Looks to be a separatist hangar, and then a clone pilot also just there because, well, someone's got to pilot the ship. At the box, you'll find 5 numbered bags, a blend instruction manual that actually has a little surprise at the back of a set catalog. Definitely don't really see these much nowadays. Alright, first up we got the minifigs. You got General Obi-Wan Kenobi, Phase 1 clone pilot, and the scary looking Asajj Ventress. Honestly, these are some of the best figures we've seen in a LEGO Star Wars set in a very long time. Like, genuinely. Both in looks and just the character lineup in general. It actually makes sense to have in the set. In case you didn't know, the V-19 Torrent was seen in both the 2003 and 2008 Clone Wars series, and this is kind of a mixed match of the two of them with the minifigs. And honestly, it works out pretty well. First up, General Obi-Wan Kenobi with the beautiful arm printing on both sides of the arms. Very, very nice. Also has his Jedi robes on top of the clone armor style. It looks honestly really great, and I'm glad they actually went with white legs instead of tan legs. Otherwise, the white would have looked like a very off-white. So I'm glad I went that choice. The only downside is the robe doesn't go on the side of the legs. That would be like the only improvement I would have. Other than that, he's got 2 faces. They honestly look pretty great. More of an angry face, more of a chill face. As a more funny Obi-Wan that we have here. And honestly, overall, very impressed with this figure. I'm glad that we finally can see him in the non-Clone Wars style of Legos, if you know what I mean. So I must start calling this figure the Airhead Pilot. Honestly, the helmet looks just a little bit big on him. I don't know why. I don't really know what it is. But besides that, this figure is mostly great. The torso, legs, decent. No arm printing, nothing fancy like that. You know, it's Lego. At least we got it for Obi-Wan, though, so I guess I can't complain. But the helmet, though, for the actual print of the helmet design, I'm glad that we actually finally got the no fin, which is accurate to Phase 1 clone pilots. However, the print on top of the helmet, the yellow stripe, does not even go past, like, a third of it, it looks like, so. And the Republic Emblem also looks like a little bit too big, but overall, it's great. And also the visor on the box art, it goes all the way across, but on the actual figure, it does not. Which, honestly, I think it looks better if it goes all the way across. But, you know, besides that, I'm glad that we actually have a somewhat accurate Phase 1 clone pilot. And last but not least, we have the purple Asajj Ventress here. She has a full face print, like all the way around. There's some on the back detailing as well, and that looks pretty great. We do have our 2 lightsabers still used in the same lightsaber hilt that they actually started using her with. Very nice little nod to that. The actual printing and design of this figure is honestly great. Yet again, no pupils, it looks like. But honestly, for Asajj Ventress, it actually looks kind of decent. Like, it works for her. Like, it's not completely weird like the Darth Maul. But I mean, besides that, this is honestly a pretty perfect and accurate figure. Alright, now on to our halfway good but also halfway bad V-19 Torrent build that could never live up to its own original in 2008. In case you were unaware, this is the second rendition of a V-19 Torrent LEGO has ever done. The only one was back in 2008, and it had a really cool function where if you pull down the back fin, 2 of the side wings and the landing gear would all fold up at once. This one doesn't do that at all. More or less much of anything other than you're able to move the wings independently of one another, which is kind of a bummer, but also kind of a plus. Although I do really wish I had the 2008 one to show you how amazing and how cool that feature really is. Looking at the model by itself, it's honestly a pretty decent model. It looks really weird in landing position because the wings are just so chunky and they're not as like the tall, thin wings as they're supposed to be. And the back fin's also just kind of short. Just like proportionally, it's really weird, especially in the landing form. When it's more spread out and open, you can kind of tell that it looks more like a V-19 Torrent. It's a little bit better looking. Now, honestly, overall, the color choices and everything are pretty much spot on with the olive green in the front, the yellow cockpit, very nice little touch actually, and the kind of printing on the sides, they kind of did a little bit better. Oh, printing, sorry, my bad. Stickers are actually not that bad on the side. Overall shaping of it though, besides like the wings being like super thicker and the blasters are kind of actually okay, even with the included stud shooter, which I'll just show real quick. You just press down, it shoots. Whoa, amazing. Besides that, though, the overall look is pretty decent, except for, like, I don't really like this part behind the cockpit. Just the shaping of it is weird compared to what's supposed to be. Yeah, it's meant to be that kind of indent, but just the way that this looks like it's too high and too far back. I just don't really like it. And then also for the cockpit, these big slope pieces are nice, don't get me wrong, but also it's kind of inaccurate because the cockpit's kind of like with the center part and it kind of like blends right on in rather than extruding out like this kind of does. Like, it doesn't look bad, but technically it is inaccurate. I'll just talk about the engines as well. I really hate the front sticker part. That's stupid. Whatever. And also, that whole entire section is like technically inaccurate. There is like a very, very slight kind of concave there where it goes inwards and then back out with the engines, but this is just to a very extreme amount to the point it looks weird. It looks awkward. It doesn't really look like it should be there. There is a slight concave, don't get me wrong, but not to that extent. Back of the engines honestly look great. They can kind of fall off slightly easy, more than I would like. I figured out just kind of playing around, trying to do the function with like one hand. I've just knocked it off so many times. I think it's become loose. But yeah, like besides that, and there's more olive green on the back as well. The middle wing was actually really well done considering its actual physical restrictions with the studs only facing one direction. I think both sides of the wing actually look really good and actually really decent on the way. Obviously, the one side's a little bit better, but the back of the studs honestly is not that bad. They did use a few tiles and stuff to kind of make it as flush as they could, and I feel like they did a pretty good job. And honestly, the width and like actual size of it's not that bad. It still has the thrust and the exhaust and stuff, so that's pretty cool. And just the wings the same on both sides. However, this ship is just not all just looks. It also has some functionality to it. As you may know already, you're able to move the wings up and down, the two side wings. Very cool. They're on kind of ball joints this time, so they can move individually and stuff like that. You don't really have to worry about them doing anything too special. Yeah, you can rotate to the back of the ship. You can kind of see the length of it in that sense. It's actually not that bad of a length. I thought it was going to look really, really weird, but it's not as bad as I thought. But yeah, you were able to just move this panel down. There's kind of a clip there. So this the back wing can kind of fold down, up, down to the bottom, where you'll find another clip, which I find a little bit hard to get into sometimes. You kind of have to play around and kind of like jam it in. So I'm really hoping over time that the clips don't break or anything, but it just use like the little bar pieces to kind of up and clip, just like so, and then you're able to move down your two side wings, and there you are. And if you did not know, you're able to actually kind of rest it there. It does put a little stress and strain on the bricks, however, you can still place it down without a stand or anything like that. And sadly, since this is no 2008 model, you do have to move the wings and stuff individually, manually. So you're just gonna have to pop these up, go to the back of the ship. I always put the back up first though, but for the sake of this video, we'll just do that. And clip it just into place. And there you go. Good as landed, I guess. Another happy landing. And the bottom's okay. There's no landing gear like 2008. Look, I don't even have the model. I can't really say, oh yeah, like 2008. Yeah, it's fine. It works. And then the only real other function you can do is open the cockpit. You'll find some studs in there. And imagine that. Where do you think goes there? Oh, your pilot. If I can actually get him in there. Yeah, just like that. He can't hold his blaster, which is nice. So, just like so. And you'll actually notice that there is very surprisingly, not printed, but a sticker version of an accurate cockpit and windscreen of the V-19. So that's very nice. It's a very nice touch. Overall, for a chibi scaled V-19 Torrent, it's honestly not that bad, and I'm kind of sort of impressed by it. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than what I was expecting, so I'm honestly giving it higher of a score. The figures are actually pretty good, pretty decent, and it could be better slightly. Look at the clone pilot and stuff. Yet again, so can the ship. The ship just kind of needs worked on, I'd say. I'm pretty sure some already some pretty good mods and stuff out there. But as like a base chibi scale V-19 Torrent, it's actually not that bad. And I'll give it about a 7.5 out of 10. It's pretty decent. I think it's like, what, 65 is retail price? You can find it on sale like I did for like 55, which is actually not that bad. And I can say I'm actually very happy with that price. It's not too absurd for what it is. So yeah, you won't see me having too many of these, besides maybe a second one, but I don't know. It's not, I don't think it's good enough to army build, but as a standalone set, 7.5 out of 10. All right. Starlight Bricks, setting out.